So this New York Attorney General Letitia James was indicted in early October by a federal grand jury. It's a move that many Trump critics believe is a blatant target of his adversaries.
The fake, corrupt attorney general, a really corrupt person.
The charges: one count of bank fraud and one count of making a false statement to a financial institution. All over a mortgage loan for a $137,000 house in Virginia.
And the allegation is that she made false representations about her primary residence to secure a lower interest rate on her loan.
But the legal experts we spoke to say this is a pretty unusual case for an indictment.
It is highly unusual in my 35 years of practice, both on the defense side and for the government, to see there be a prosecution, an indictment brought for a single, relatively small mortgage loan.
So how did we get here? Well, Letitia James promised to investigate Trump while campaigning for the job of Attorney General in New York back in 2018. And when she got the job, she did just that.
We are filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump.
James successfully sued Trump and his company for fraud in 2023 over grossly inflating his net worth to get more favorable terms for loans and insurance. Her name then appeared in a Truth Social post this September where Trump also called on former FBI Director James Comey and Democratic Senator Adam Schiff to be investigated, stating justice must be served.
It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt.
Then the president appointed a new attorney.
President Trump fired the prior U.S. attorney who was responsible for determining whether to bring the case and replaced the prosecutor with a young, inexperienced new U.S. attorney who had never been a prosecutor before in her life.
Since then, Comey was indicted in September. Now, Comey and Trump also have a long and complicated history. Comey investigated connections between the Trump campaign and Russia, something that Trump criticized and later fired Comey for. And Comey was recently indicted for making false statements to lawmakers and obstructing congressional proceedings. And he's pleaded not guilty.
And I'm innocent. So let's have a trial.
Then earlier this month, James was indicted despite the previous lawyer who oversees federal prosecutions in Virginia stating there wasn't enough evidence that James had committed mortgage fraud.
It is a sign where the administration has run through what are traditionally a lot of the guardrails and safety checks in the process that would prevent a case that is really out of the ordinary from being brought for political purposes.
James has denied any wrongdoing and has called this case a
Weaponization of our justice system. We will fight these baseless charges aggressively.
Kloop says it's likely that James's lawyers will use a selective prosecution claim to fight this.
The selective prosecution defense will certainly start with the narrative of the New York Attorney General conducted an extensive investigation, brought a civil case against President Trump, succeeded at trial. The president made numerous statements about his desire that it was a completely unjustified prosecution.
Letitia James, this woman is grossly incompetent.
His desire to have revenge, vengeance, retribution.
Her ranting and raving like a lunatic. But just as the Attorney General of New York State, Letitia James.
Now, if the case proceeds, it would then go to a jury.
They're going to have to persuade a jury of 12 Americans beyond a reasonable doubt that they've convicted these crimes, and they have to do it unanimously. That's a really, really high bar in much more clear-cut criminal situations.
Meanwhile, the U.S. administration has insisted that any actions against these individuals, like James or Comey, are driven by law over politics. But Trump did center his 2024 campaign around retributions against those who had prosecuted him.
The president has long said, back to the time before he was reelected and was a candidate for reelection, he's often had a sort of eye for an eye vision of politics and of justice, trying to hit back at what he perceives as his enemies.
What kind of precedent do you think this sets?
It sets a very dangerous precedent. And I think we've heard a lot of people outspoken, both on the political left and on the political right, really highlighting that point.
Jason Stanley is the chair of American Studies at the Munk School of Global Affairs in Toronto. He moved to Toronto over concerns about rising authoritarianism in the United States. He sees the indictment of James and others as a sign of autocracy.
So we can look to other autocratic nations like Turkey. We can see that the mayor of Istanbul, who threatened Erdogan, is sitting in prison now. I think we can expect opposition politicians, as in any autocratic country, to be targeted for prosecution.
But the lawyers I spoke to say there's some safeguards in place.
So it's fair to say maybe this is a move in a particular trajectory, But I will say the United States has a lot further to fall before we actually get to that point where an autocracy. I think it really underscores the need for some fundamental reforms and fundamental efforts to try and kind of reinstall some degree of independence in the Justice Department to the extent we can.
I think the courts and ultimately, American citizens as jurors are the ultimate safeguard.